and he said to the guy, hey, can I plant a flower in your yard? And the guy's like, no, why? And he's like, well, I'm just trying to, do some challenges. And he's like, well, Mrs. Butterworth across the street, she loves flowers. Just go knock on her door and plant it in her yard. Mrs. Butterworth was so excited to have Jai come to her house and plant flower in her front yard. So now how does Jai's experience parallel prayer? Well, so often I think that we, and I have a couple of illustrations, but I'm going to start off with this one. Oh yeah. So I have a bat right here, and I'm going to extend the bat to you. You can take it. Well, I don't know. You can do whatever. Okay. So good. You actually did perfect for my illustration. So way to go. I had a backup in case you did something else. All right. So one of my favorite verses comes to us from Hebrews chapter 10, and it says, "Let us hold fast to our hope that we profess without wavering, because he who promised is faithful." So when it comes to prayer, God has given us promises. Let's pretend this is a promise. Let's pretend I'm God. And so what are some of the promises that, I'll give you a chance, don't worry. What are some of the promises that God has given us? Well, I will never leave you. I have never seen the righteous forsaken or begging bread. What are some of the other promises that you can think of? I'm with you always. I will hear your prayer. All these things. We have a tendency, when we know those things and we say, hey, God, I really need help with this particular situation. And we pull on a promise, but we don't hear anything right away. And so what do? We let go. And we're like, oh man, I was rejected. And that's our tendency, and that's my tendency as well. Now, option 2 is just take that thing from me. Just take it, man. You gotta take it. Come on. You got it, buddy. You can do it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it was a little harder than you thought. Well, there's another interesting verse, and when you fight with God, in Psalms 106, this was my backup in case you fought me for it. Psalms 106:15, he gave them the desires of their heart, but sent leanness to their souls. So there are times when you can be like, God, I want this. God, I want this. God, I want this. God, I want this. And God's like, okay, you can have it, but it doesn't necessarily turn out to be the way that you want. Well, he got leanness to his soul, man. He's famished. Now, there's one other illustration, and that is when God extends you a promise, and you tug on it. You tug, and you tug, and you tug. And do you want leanness to your soul? And then you just hold on. What does the verse say? Hold on to the promises. So you're holding on. Well, as you hold on, it takes time. But eventually, God gives it to you. Now, does that mean God gives you everything you want and all your prayers will be answered in such the way that you desire? Not necessarily. But we do have a tendency to let go. We have a tendency to fight. But rarely do we have a tendency to just trust and hold on. So I have one more illustration. And so at the beginning, I used the illustration of origin. And one of the big things about prayer is God's sovereignty. God has a plan. God's plan will be accomplished. But to what extent do my decisions affect that plan? And so, it's like, I just did that. Did God know I was going to do that? Yeah, he did. But did he make me do that? No, I don't think he did. He gives me the freedom to do stuff. And so, yeah, just like that, yeah. I made you do that. It was subliminal messaging. So I have this illustration, and obviously life is much greater, but if I were to drop a marble, how many of you think it would line up in the 5 hole? Let's just vote. Let's just see.
Which color are you putting it in?
Okay, I've got 3 in the back. So we'll go with pink, blue, silver, and red. Who's pink? Who's pink? Okay, back row-ish is pink. Who is blue? Just a couple blues, all right. Who's silver? Wow, silver's pretty big. And who's red? Okay. All right, here we go.
Come on, number silver. I'll take that.
Whoa! You were all wrong.
God's unexpected.
Okay, that was totally unexpected, wasn't it?
God doesn't always do things we want.
God, you can't put God in a box. Hello? What were you thinking? All right, shall we try again? All right, anybody want to change their vote?
No.
Stick it with it? Okay, I'm going to go with orange this time. Silver gets 1 point. Oh, I love it. That's so cool. Okay. Oh.
Yep.
Do you think it's possible that we all will get a point?
Come on.
Who knew?
No, this game's not rigged. It isn't rigged.
Hey, this has been serving VBSs for years. Ooh, another silver. Now, what's really cool is when you go all in.
Oh, let's go. Oh, man. I'm about to switch. Silver's locked in.
I have more I could put in, but it looks like red for the win. Who's red? Way to go. You guys are just so smart. So why do I do that illustration? Well, this is how I perceive God's sovereign plan, is that God has a plan for you, and you still get to make choices along the way. But I think that God kind of puts you in a pasture. There's kind of a zone, and if you try to go over the fence, God may get you back in. However, you still have choices, and you know, at the end of the day, red may be, I don't want to have anything to do with God. You know, green may be, I want to have a life that's totally dedicated to God. Blue may be, yeah, you know what? I'm going to get my fire insurance and make sure I'm mostly good. And, you know, silver may be, you know, I'll put that off until I'm older. Who knows? Who knows? But at the end of the day, I believe that you get choices, but God sends you in a direction and He knows where you will land. There you go. Good job. Good? Are you pleased? I still think red won. And those of you that were in pink, it was the worst showing ever. I'm sorry.
It's okay. We forgive you.
Yeah. Well,
We love you anyway.
I appreciate that. All right. So at the end of the day, why is prayer important? Number one, I believe to grow, we have to wrestle with God. It's just the way it is. If we had a cush life, you don't grow. You know, I mentioned my dad went to the Naval Academy, and you know, he would always tell me these Naval Academy stories of hazing and difficulty and all that. And I would tease him, and I'd say, yeah, I know what it was like. You guys just like stayed at a pool all day, and you'd have brunch, and they'd say, okay, everybody out of the pool, it's brunch time. Just giving him a hard time. Well, you know, when you train, you get good at stuff. Do you like running? Maybe some of you do. But do you like the pain that gets you to the point where you're good? Well, just like in anything else, you have to endure hardship to grow. Number two, healing. You know, we all are broken. I would assume that in this room, everyone has chosen to respond to God and followed Him into your own personal walk with Him. But if you haven't done that, or you're on the fence and you're still thinking about that, I'd love to talk to you, or anybody else would. Happiness, true joy, comes by having hope in what's coming. You know, if as a student looking at the horizon of our country, the world, culture, so many things are saying, this is going to be bad, this is going to be bad, this is going to be bad, it's just all going to be bad. Well, you can have hope in knowing that God is in control, and no matter what decision you make, He is still guiding you along the way, and that He has a plan for you, and you were born for such a time as this. When I was in college, I was visiting with someone, and they just out of the blue, they said, hey, so you plan on getting married and having kids? And I actually said, well, I think I may get married, but I don't know that I'm going to have any kids because this world is just really messed up. And you know what the guy said to me? He said, well, think about Moses' parents. It was against the law for them to have a kid, and if they had a kid, the kid would die. And yet they chose to fear God over their fears. And so I was like, whoa. Well, we have 10 kids, so we have a lot of kids. And not all of them are a handful. And then last but not least, yearning. If you're not yearning for God, I can guarantee you go back to the beginning of the list and you're going to get to wrestle some more. As you grow, unfortunately, that's how we grow, growing through difficult times. And it's like you hit on those first three over and over and over and over until you get to the last one, and you don't stay in one spot. Your relationship with God isn't a staircase that you walk up and, okay, I reached the 8th step, I'm good now. No, it's more like an escalator, and if you just stand there, you kind of go backwards a little bit. So I had one other thing that I wanted to mention, and it was brilliant. It would have totally rocked your world, but it wasn't in my notes, and I totally forgot what it was. So when in doubt, you close in prayer. And actually, I should have a little bit of time. Okay, well, we have to be out of here at 9. All right, well, my desire was that you just have a moment to pray with the friends in your row. So just say, hey, how can I pray for you? Obviously, you only have basically 5 minutes, so keep it brief. If you need to move and hang out with somebody else, you can do that too, but that was my prayer. So let's close in prayer, and then you can pray, and then we will officially close. Heavenly Father, we just thank you that you take us through a process of drawing us to you, regardless of our choices.